Hopefully everybody can see the PowerPoint up.
Good.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa, for allowing me to be here. Oh, guess I would say got it. Yeah, I got it. It's I'm not really doing much educational, but hopefully you are able to take something out of this to maybe add to your resource list if if you're working with families, or even if you're just working with somebody and know that the family could need some support. So my name is Jenny Fessler, and I am a social worker. I am with SAFY, and I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to learn about SAFY and what we're doing in the working with our community partners in the greater Cincinnati area. Feel free to put any questions in the chat box as they come to you. I am not good at multitasking when it comes to watching the chat and presenting, so maybe Melissa can
I'll help you with that for sure. Yeah,
that
it's too many things to keep an eye on. So yeah,
it is too many things to keep an eye on. All right, so we will move on here. Okay, so first of all, what is SAFY for those that don't know who we are? So SAFY is really specialized alternatives for families and youth. And our mission is working towards preserving families and securing futures. We were founded in Lima, Ohio in 1984 as a foster care agency. We now serve 7 states: Alabama, Colorado, Indiana, Kentucky, Nevada, Ohio, and South Carolina, with our emphasis being in Ohio. Ohio has, I think, 7 or 8 divisions. We're in Cleveland, Dayton, Columbus, obviously Lima. We're all over Ohio. And our 2 largest service lines are obviously therapeutic foster care and the family preservation services. But today we are just going to be focusing on the family preservation component of what we do. So why family preservation and why they're important? So back a couple of years ago, the federal government added the Family First Preservation Service Act, and the goal of this is to increase the youth's ability to stay in the family, whether it be biological home or kinship care. We want to make sure that that's a really strong placement for the children. And even though we are a foster care agency and family preservation kind of goes against what we were founded on, we really don't want the families and the kiddos to be in foster care. We want them to be in their homes with their families, because that's where they belong, and we hopefully to build those strong family connections. So the purpose of the Family First Preservation Service Act, and we all love our acronyms, so the FFPSA, it was a subtitle that enabled states to use federal funds that are available under Parts B and E of Title IV of the Social Security Act, which provides an enhanced support to children and families and to prevent foster care placements through the provisions of mental health and substance use abuse prevention and treatment services. We do that in-home parent skills-based programs and that kinship care navigation services. So part of the funding, Hamilton County JFS sent out a request for community partners to establish an in-home program. We were able to launch our program in September of 2021. And due to the complexities of this program, we are continually adjusting to best serve the needs of the families and add strategies constantly. So our program goal is to empower families. And it's designed to, again, reunify children with their families or preserve their placements and their support families. So we originally started with Hamilton County JFS and only taking referrals there, but we have I mean, obviously those aren't the only families that are in need. You know, there's a family in need everywhere. So we wanted to diversify, you know, our program to where we could reach out more to other families and to other community partners as well. So our service delivery is that we are fully community based. In other words, we go into the home where the families live, because it's very important to see how the family lives, how the family interacts together. It takes that clinical component out of it. There are times that we may not be able to be in the home and do some of those services, because some of the behaviors that we're seeing in the home it's so chaotic, and to try to do therapy in chaos, you all know, is impossible. So we try to meet the family where they are and when it's most convenient for them. And due to the intensive nature of our program, we want to make sure that we're doing less harm in creating barriers for families. But we also weigh this with our staff and also their self-care. So this is a very, it's very intense, because we are in that home, and we are in that home a lot, and we work with the families, and we become part of that family. So we definitely have to be very careful about our boundaries and things. So we have evening appointments sporadically throughout the week, and we can meet on weekends, but we do try to limit our weekends just for our staff. Our treatment team, so when applicable, the team utilizes a team approach to serve our families and unique needs, and through all service tiers. And this includes our clinical therapist, where the therapist will provide individual and family therapy, psychoeducation, skill building, crisis navigation and interventions, conflict resolution, and case coordination. We have a family skills coach, which is a unique component to our program. This person provides homemaker services, transportation in last resort circumstances, and then that direct skills coaching that include but not limited to how to read a bus schedule, how to ride the bus, how to shop for those nutritional foods, how to create meal plans, setting up household budgets, doing a resume, even helping to clean the home. And then connect, and also, you know, probably the most important thing our family skills coach does is that case management component, where she's able to come out and connect the families to those other resources that we can't provide for them. And then we have the supervisor, where we have weekly case consultation to ensure that the clinical need remains at the forefront of our services.
Jenny, there was a question that came in, if you don't, if this is an okay time to ask.
Yeah.
Somebody wondered, could you explain more about where your referrals come from outside of Hamilton County Department of Child Services? In Indiana, families can only be referred for family preservation if they are involved with DCS. Is that the same in Ohio?
It is not the same in Ohio. And our team cannot go into Indiana. They have to be Ohio in the Cincinnati area. We go into Butler County and the other counties in Ohio.
Well, I think she meant, are they only referred from like
no
services?
No, and I further along in the presentation, I'll show you how any other community partner can refer to our program.
Great, thank you.
Just not Indiana, unfortunately. Or in Kentucky. So we use a trauma-informed service philosophy in our programs. Our foster care side of SAFY, we use TFCBT, and because trauma is something that everybody has, and we know how that changes lives. So the following philosophies that guide our approach: understanding and appreciating the impact of multi-generational trauma, the full use of family-centered practice, use of trauma-informed practices such as TFCBT and TRRC, prioritization of emotional regulation and skill building, appreciation and integration of family culture and diversity, the value of case management to support that treatment, and then identification of those protective factors and resiliency that might mitigate the impact of those adverse events that we might come across in these families. The evidence-based practices that we use currently are the trauma-focused CBT. We also have triple P, which is a positive parenting practice. And we are, right now we have a level 4 certification on that. And then we will be in September, we'll be going for our teenager, which hindsight, and when you're setting up a new program, the things you learn as you go through and you say, oh man, I wish we would have done that in the beginning. Well, the teenager is probably the one that we wish we would have just gotten right away, because probably more of our caseload has those ages, from 12 to 18, where you can't use the same type of positive parenting approaches on a teenager that you can on a toddler or, someone who's in elementary school. They're a different breed, all their own, those teenagers. We use motivational interviewing, and then coming soon is we are going to be doing the intensive home-based treatment, the IHBT, which will follow along with the Ohio RISE. Which I don't know about you guys, but I cannot wait for July 1st to get here because that is so important. So
there's a new evidence-based thing around intensive home-based treatment.
Yeah, it has a IHBT.
Yeah.
Well, it follows the fidelity.
I've just not heard of it. That's why I was like, oh.
Yeah,
nice.
we were looking for what the right curriculum was going to be for that family therapy approach. And we looked at strategic short-based behavioral therapy, family therapy model. We looked at that one. We looked at functional family therapy. We looked at a couple of others, but just the fact that IHBT is in line with Ohio RISE, we just felt that it was probably the best to go in that direction.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Again, it's something that, hindsight, wish we would have done that right off the bat.
So. It's all right. You just always got to keep learning, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So our treatment modalities are going to continue to grow and change as our program grows and changes, just because we understand that one size does not fit all for our families. Our approach is trauma-based, and our services are incumbent of the knowledge that trauma affects every aspect of our life, regardless of race, gender, socioeconomic status, whatever. So what's a good referral? A good referral is you have a family that might be caregivers are struggling to cope with the children's behaviors in the home and they want some help. Caregivers want to learn new and different parenting techniques, or the family therapist needed to stabilize those behaviors in the home, or the families. This is really important that the families are ready for that change and they understand what the engagement of these high intensity services are going to be. It's not, you're going to do an hour of therapy. It's also, we could be in the home up to 5 times, depending on the needs of the family. There's also homework that's going to be involved. Nothing changes unless the people that are engaging, our clients and our families are ready to work towards that change. Nothing comes free, and they've got to put the work into it. So just having them come in with that understanding in the very beginning is very helpful for us. So what should you tell them about the referral? So most families they're more responsive with our first attempt at contact to get scheduled, so that they kind of have an idea of what those services are. Obviously, when we get the referral, within 24 to 72 hours, we're going to try to make contact with that family, get their first appointment scheduled. We go out with consents and releases of information. We want to make sure, and we try to get a good understanding of the family's needs at that visit. We could go ahead and do a psychosocial diagnostic assessment at that meeting, or we may, depending on how that first meeting goes, we may schedule for another meeting. We do identify one family member in the family to have as our identified client. We bill insurance for this. We right now are only taking families that have Ohio Medicaid. We will probably open it up to private insurance. The problem with the private insurance is that right now, through our contract with Hamilton County, if the family has private insurance, Hamilton County will absorb those copays for the family. We don't have anything set up if we have a referral outside of Hamilton County to absorb those copays for the family. And we understand that, the copays could really add up quickly. So if you have a family that you're thinking about referring, right now we don't have a way to get around that copay to offset some of those costs for the families. That first appointment usually takes about an hour. Just that gives us enough time. They're going to get a parent manual. They're going to get a notebook. They're going to get all our contact information. We're going to explain the program. We're going to get their kind of assess their strengths and strengths and what some of the deficits are in the family that we need to work on. So our expected outcomes are 80% of our youth will remain at home 30 days post-discharge across all of our tiers of service. And our tiers of service are basically just whether they're in the custody of another agency, so for Hamilton County JFS, they would be in the custody of JFS, or from one of the other county agencies. And then another tier would be if they're still in the home. Then our approach really, it doesn't change that much, but then we have another tier level, which is a crisis level. If they come in as a crisis, then that's just really our services are even more intense, and we're in the home working to get them out of that, stabilize that crisis. 80% of our caregivers will report increased ability to care for their children as measured by the discharge survey. And then 80% of caregivers will report feeling engaged and supported in services as evidenced by our satisfaction survey. Got to be able to measure it, right? So now to how do you refer? So you go to our website, SAFY.org. On the home page, you're going to see this button here where it says make a referral. It's going to open up the referral page, and you can make that. So your name would go here, your phone number, your email address, and then whether you're an agency partner, a caregiver, a concerned adult, or whatnot. And then you're going to state what SAFY location. So we would be Ohio, Cincinnati, and then the program referral would be the Empowering Families. And then you're going to put your client information in. You're going to, if you have a child that you see in your practice and you think that family could use that referral, and that behavior is from that one child, you can identify that child as the client. but then you're also going to have and you'll have an opportunity here to put the parent or guardian or caregiver name. And then our contact information for that, which is very important. We need to be able to contact the families. And then their email, if you have their email, that would be helpful as well. And then when you're putting your comments down here as to why you are sending us the referral, the most information is the best. But if you just want to do like a brief summary of why the referral, you're submitting the referral. And then also if there's any other partners that they're working with, sometimes they may already have an individual therapist and they need that family therapy component. We definitely want to partner with everybody who touches this family so that we can get a full, we can get a good team together. And that is pretty much it. My contact information is here, and I believe that Melissa sent everybody a PDF of the presentation that has this information there. If you have a family that you want to refer, but you're not sure they're a good fit, please just call me or email me, and we can set up a time to talk. And emailing is probably the easiest to get a hold of me because I do carry a caseload too.
Mhm.
And if anybody knows a clinical therapist that needs a job, send them my way. I think we're all in that same boat, but we are growing. Like I said, we launched September 1st, 2021, and we have 27 active families on our caseload right now. So it is, the need is there. It's definitely out there, and there's a lot more that I think we can serve.
So we had a question about, does the client ever have to come to you, or you are always going to them?
We always go to them.
Okay.
We always go to them.
Yeah. Somebody asked, is the referral only done online, or do you have a PDF that you could send that's a referral form?
I don't have a PDF, but that is something that I would like to be able to offer as well. So that's in the works, but right now is online only.
Okay. So
but if you have somebody and you want to refer and you don't want to go through the online, give me a call.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, just give me a call or send me an email.
So you said you have 27 active families. How many therapists are working? Two therapists, but then you also have like your team is like the therapist and the case manager. So
yes.
You have 2 therapists, and then you have same number of case managers, or?
Nope, we have one right now. We have one family skills coach, or
one family skills coach, and then okay.
Yeah, we started the program off with a clinical therapist, an intervention specialist, and a family skills coach. What we were finding was that when SAFY wrote this program, and it's not a SAFY program. It's, based off of the RFP from Hamilton County and what Hamilton County envisioned.
Yeah.
So, our SAFY got their clinical minds together and kind of developed what our vision of this program is. And like with anything, you take something from a textbook, and when you apply it to real world, you realize, oh, that's not going to work, or that's not going to work. So we have continually been adjusting since we first started the program. But what we found was that engagement was really hard with some of these families. Now, Hamilton County families, a lot of them are court ordered to participate in this program. So that you've got that component of engagement. But having 3 different people come into your home every week is it's overloading to a lot of families. It's overwhelming to these families because they've already got a lot of other things that they're doing, and then we're just adding us on top. So that's also something to be mindful of, is when you're making that referral, that you want to look and see everything else that that family has going on too. And is this going to help, or is this going to hinder that family? And we try to adjust our services. Like I said before, we could be in that home up to 5 times a week.
Oh,
But can every family handle that 5 times a week?
yeah.
Or do we adjust our times in the home to maybe longer periods of time instead of an hour, 3 days a week? Every 3 days a week, we're in there an hour each day. Or we could do a 3-hour appointment on one day where we can meet with the family and then work with individual family members and then come back and work with the family again. So just kind of adjusting how we're working with the families, and also keeping our interference in the home life to a minimum.
Sure. Yeah, but I know for some of those family preservation type of programs, you do have to go a minimum amount per week.
Yes.
Or a minimum number of hours a week, what is that, like 3 hours or 5 hours, or I can't remember from when I did it.
I don't want to say, Rob, because I'm not 100%.
Okay, that's fine.
But for us, our lowest level, we need to be in the home at least 2 hours a week.
Gotcha. Okay.
For one provider.
Yeah.
And then also, oh shoot, I had a thought and it totally went out the window.
It'll probably come back to you.
It might come back to me.
Yeah. So,
It might.
okay. So a couple of questions more came in. Does your program require safety checks? And if so, can you share what that looks like for the families?
So it depends. I mean, if we have a family that is, that we have some suicidal ideations or some homicidal ideations or things of that nature, obviously we're going to do a safety plan. Safety checks aren't necessarily something that we cover. We do talk to the family about, we want to make sure that our staff is safe in the home.
Yes.
So we make sure that one of the things that we talk about when we sit down and have that intake appointment, and we go through, if there's any firearms in the home, they have to be locked in a safe. We ask that nobody be under the influence of any drugs or alcohol. During our visits, we talk about safe practices. We talk about our staff, because some of the homes that we're going to and some of the neighborhoods that we're going into are not the safest in the area, to kind of speak into that. So we have a lot of training for our staff to make sure our staff are aware of their safety as well. We also have these safety fobs, kind of like the life alerts that our elderly might wear. That have a check, they have to check in, use the check-in button, and they're monitored. So, and they have a panic button on there that if something happens, they can hit that panic button.
Oh, nice.
And emergency services would be notified. So I hope that answers your question, the question.
Okay. I guess maybe it does, since that person didn't say more. Can you explain more about the IHBT and what the training would look like for your staff?
I cannot, but I do see a face on here that maybe he might be able to do that with. Ryan, would you be able to answer that question about IHBT, since we just got registered for it?
Yeah, Jenny, would you mind having them repeat it real fast?
The question is, can you explain more about IHBT and what the training would look like for your staff?
Sure. So IHBT is going to be one of the new services under Ohio Rise, and it would be utilized when the child meets 5 out of 18 criteria on a medical necessity form. So it's going to be high-risk behaviors. And so that would be, we would partner with Case Western University to be trained in that model. What it would allow for us is that we would maintain our traditional family preservation program for families that wouldn't qualify for that, which is often where the parent needs to be the identified client, that they still need these enhanced level of services, but potentially that the child is not going to be the focal point of the family preservation, or where that child's behaviors don't meet the threshold for IHBT. So that's why we'd be offering both programs.
Thanks, Ryan.
Lighthouse as well has IHBT, and so yeah, the trainings are all through the Center of Excellence.
At Case Western.
Case Western, right? Definitely. So
Is it a long training? I guess maybe somebody's trying to get into the nitty gritty of like, how many days is it, or
It's
3-day training.
3 days.
Thank you.
It's not long.
3-day trainings, and then I think we have a year consultation after that training.
Right.
We're always looking for different treatment modalities, because it's interesting, like I said before, one home is not the same as the next. So it's I don't think you can ever have enough tools in your toolbox as a therapist, or even case management, whatever you're doing, just because it's a weird world out there.
It's agreed, right? And one size never fits all, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And anybody who's been doing this type of work for any number of years knows that.
Yes.
Or they're learning it. So somebody asked if you were expecting to hire more therapists, which I think you said you are looking for more therapists.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you probably have families looking for the service, but there might not be enough therapists to fill the need.
Yeah, we are filling up quickly. We're not turning any referrals away. We are triaging referrals. And then I remember what I was going to say, Melissa, before, because what we also do to try to help with engagement is not to like blindside the family, full-blown program specifics right away. We do try to kind of work towards that full program, that full being in the home, that intense level. So, and another thing I didn't put on here was, right now our length of service is about 6 months.
Okay.
And that's kind of geared towards that reunification portion, where we hope to, work with the family and the child in that beginning stages before reunification happens, and teaching those skills, and then working during reunification where, so we would like build up as we're teaching those skills, and then we would level off with full-blown, in the home as much as we need to be. And then in our maintenance phase, which would be that remaining 3 months, then we would look at it as not being in the home quite as much, and just kind of observing and giving coaching here and there as we need to kind of hope and see if they can maintain those skills that they've been working on to develop in the first part.
That's good. It's nice to hear that you're doing some of that, like building up.
Yeah.
Because some of my experience with this these type of referrals that have happened, in my career, is that you're at like a super critical point before somebody gets in there, and then you're like, it's so, we all know it's so much better to go in before the huge crisis hits, right?
Yes.
People are still amenable to learning and working on stuff, because once you get too much into like crisis mode, they're like, wow, I need the kid out of here, or this isn't gonna work, and so it's nice to hear that there's more like early indicators that you can work with to
Yes.
head off some bigger
Yeah.
issues and disruptions.
Absolutely. And the 6 month is it's just a number.
Mhm,
We don't, some of our families don't need 6 months.
mhm,
And then some of our families may need longer than 6 months.
mhm.
So, but the 6 months is just kind of an idea to give the families so that they know that it could be 6 months.
Mhm.
They need to be engaged.
Yeah, right. It gives them a good sense of this is going to take a bit of a commitment.
Yes.
Yeah. So another question came in. Can you provide an interpreter for a hearing impaired client?
So I know we have interpreter services. We've not used for hearing impaired. Ryan, do you have anything on that?
Well, yes, under ADA legal obligations, yes, we would absolutely make sure that we could accommodate that family. To Jenny's point, that has not been a request that we've had. So Language Link does offer that. So we would need to work with them to make sure. And if the family had their own interpreter that they've used previously, or if the county had someone that they recommended, then we would work to partner with that. So.
Do you guys get funded then? Do you get funded through the county then? You talked about an RFP for these services.
Yeah, so our translation services are currently, that would be an unfunded.
Well, I mean, like in general, the whole program. The whole program is the whole program funded. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I figured. And Jenny may have said that earlier. It was just made me think of that.
And full disclosure, I didn't know Ryan was going to be on here, but I'm so glad he was. He snuck on.
Yeah, he's supplementing with some things that he knows. Yeah, that's good.
I have to tell you, I have such great support for this program throughout SAFY. They do a great job. If there's something that comes up that we didn't think about, I can just, send an email or make a quick call and say, hey, I need this. And there's somebody in the back researching it for me. So
nice. So those of you who are on here, like how many of you are doing, intensive in-home services as well? Just out of curiosity. Like, there's a little hand raise function on your reactions that might help us be able to see how many people. Okay, so we've got Megan here from CMHC, and then Deborah, and maybe some folks are listening and not able to access their screen. I know, we have lots of different agencies represented here. I was looking down the list as I was checking people off. So, some of you may be here because you're doing similar programs. Some of you may be here to learn more, to be able to refer, because some of the questions we've obviously had about how to refer and if there's different things available. So yeah, I was just curious, like what kind of roles folks were in who were here. Okay, so Courtney was saying, I guess your own agency works with individuals with autism and other mental health programs, and you partner with other agencies that provide IHBT. Okay. Who developed IHBT? Is that, I'm always curious about that kind of thing.
I believe that's all through the Center for Excellence. It's a Medicaid service definition, but then they built out the framework for the fidelity.
Gotcha. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Case Western does a lot of really good work there. Are lots of you guys being affected by Ohio Rise? She mentioned that a few times, and I know I've heard whisperings of the Ohio Rise movement for the last probably year and a half.
One other thing that I didn't say in here, we also recently just we're all certified for doing the CANS assessment.
Oh yes, right. That's part of the Ohio Rise piece. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something right now we do, and we'll continue to do it. One of our assessments alongside of the DAF is our North Carolina Family Assessment, where it looks at different components of the family, the environment, the education level. Very similar to what the CANS does, and it definitely looks at those strengths, and maybe the where the deficits are, but it's the NICFAS is, in my opinion, it's more provider perspective versus family perspective, and I feel like the CANS is more family perspective. If you sit down with the family and do that, you can with the NICFAS. It's just it's a little different. So we'll use both. We'll continue depending on the family, or what we feel like we need or fits that need better.
Yeah. So you said you've been doing this program since late in 2021. Okay. Any success stories you want to share, or?
We've had about six successful discharges.
Okay,
A couple of them were fairly easy families to work with. We didn't have a huge problem going in. We had one family that had been in the foster care system for a longer extended period of time than should have been. But we were able to work with that family, and we worked with them for right at 6 months, and they successfully reunified. Mom is doing great. Kids, the reunification went very smoothly. But there were a lot of people involved in that one, a lot of partners that really wanted to see that one be a success, and it was, and we're very proud of the work that we did with that family.
That's always good to hear.
Yeah.
To me, that's part of, that's better than the research on evidence basis. Is what are the stories, right? What are what are the things that show us that this works, more so than what's on an assessment pre and post.
And I don't,
not that assessments aren't great, but
yeah,
I like the story.
Some of those families that when they come in, you look at them and it's like, okay, well, they're this one's going to be really hard, and I don't know that we can help this family. And I don't always look at having to close a family for hired services, or if that kiddo had to go into residential program. I still look at us as being successful in the fact that we were able to uncover some of those other problems, and understanding that it's we're adult enough to say we can't help. We this is bigger than us. We need somebody else to step in.
Oh, yeah, sure. Because sometimes you don't know enough until you're right there in the home looking at it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and when you're in the home, I think that's when you see a lot more of those things than you would if you're in an office.
Oh,
or
people can
you just make a visit.
People can come to the office looking pretty decent sometimes, right? And some people, and we all want to present our best selves, right, in general, but so it is hard to always know. And you do have families who are like, everything's terrible and let me tell you all about it, but there's some folks that want to put their best foot forward even though they're seeking help, and that's just the way it is. Well, this sounds great. I really, wish you luck in growing the program and getting some more therapists to help with the work. And if you guys have a Facebook, which I think you do, and if there's something like, if you're putting a job ad up that you would like me to share on TTN's Facebook, I'm happy to do that for agencies in our network. Just let me know, where to find it. Like if I need to scroll through your Facebook to find it, let me know a date to look for. Or if it's something that, you can repost today, then you can just tell me it's there and I'll go pick it up and post it.
I don't know that, I'm sure we have a Facebook page, but that's not
your area. Well,
It's
you
not.
gotta ask your HR person then.
I will, and we'll have to ask that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's good to be able to share that in different ways. And it, for TTN, people who follow our page are very trauma minded, right? And trauma informed. And of course you went through our trauma responsive care certification. So and then there's somebody on your staff is going through currently, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
My other therapist is currently going through it.
Yeah. So that's a group to kind of reach out to as well sometimes, is the trauma responsive care folks who might be looking for that type of work. But it's also nice for people to hear who are on here now that you don't have to be intensively trauma trained to get the job, but that you'll provide that intensive training for the people doing this work, which is a huge benefit to folks when they're looking for jobs, is that, am I going to get some good, solid training to do my job well?
Yeah, it's I was just going over the onboarding for our training, and it's pretty extensive of the training that we provide just for this program. So we kind of actually spread it out a little bit, just because it was a little overpowering and overwhelming to somebody who was just going to be onboarding. I'm like, oh, let's stretch that out, because we do go to the Hamilton County core courses. So for a Hamilton County worker that would just be starting, they have to take these mandated courses, and they are phenomenal, because it really, really shows what they do, what a worker does, and really shows you those really intensive calls, what is considered risk.
Gotcha.
So
this is the Hamilton County JFS trainings that you guys
it's through Ohio Department of Health.
Oh, just Ohio ODA. Okay.
So they have different training centers. So we go to the Southwest one in Loveland, but there's a couple throughout.
Gotcha. Okay.
And what's interesting is anybody can go to those courses. Any agency can contact them, and it's first come, first serve. Obviously the county workers have first dibs.
Yeah.
And we've been bumped a couple of times, but because we were with Hamilton County, they wanted us to make sure that we got those.
Gotcha.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah, I think there's a website for that Southwest Training Center, correct?
I believe so.
What is the name of that actual training entity? Do you remember? I know somebody told me a year or so ago, and I'm struggling to remember.
Southwest Regional.
Okay.
Southwest Regional Ohio Training Center.
Okay.
SWROTC.
Okay, thank you. Southwest Ohio Training. No, Southwest Regional Ohio Training Center.
Is it South? Yeah, Southwest Regional Ohio Training Center.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe so it might be SWORT. SWORT. Or is it SWROT? One of the two. Yeah.
I don't know. It's maybe already.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good resource for people who might be looking at how to fill out training needs that they have for their staff. All right. Well, thank you so much. So those of you who are still on, I don't see a ton of faces, but I do want to offer that if anybody wants to hang around and connect a little bit and introduce themselves, we can do that. Thanks. So Erin put up the website for us. Thank you, Erin.
We did have the R and the O switched.
Yeah. And Aaron's joining us from the Kenton County Library. Awesome. Yeah, so if anybody wants to hang around and connect a little bit and you know, meet folks and talk about what you're doing, I'll stay on for that. But sometimes people like to have that extra time to themselves for self-care. So totally fine, whatever you guys want to do. Thank you so much, Jenny, for being here to share with us and for providing the PowerPoint and answering lots of questions, and allowing me to record it for the folks who weren't able to make it. And yeah, send me the job information if you want me to try to repost that for you. And thanks for the work you're doing for our community. I mean, it's all the different players like you and everybody, you know, involved in the Tri-State Trauma Network and beyond that really help families get where they need to be.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It's all about teamwork.
It sure is. Nobody's doing this work alone.
No,
Right? And nobody can handle all of it.
no.
For darn sure.
Jenny, I did have one more question. Can you tell me where we have community-based staff that are out in similar situations that you talked like your staff were? Can you tell me more about the key fobs or the safety alerts that you've given to your staff?
Yeah, I can send you the link.
Okay, that would be
What's your-
wonderful.
What's your email address?
It's Megan.Carnes, CARNES, at cmhcinc.org.
That was cmhc.inc.
So CMHC INC is all together.
Oh, okay. INC. What is CMHC? I probably should know that.
Community Mental Health Center here in Lawrenceburg.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's like
Okay.
Community Mental Health Center Incorporated. And I always mess up those
Okay.
initials because of Children's Hospital Medical Center.
Mm.
I have to look
Now-
at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Megan, SAFY does have a family preservation program in Indiana.
Okay,
It's Zeta Duffy is the program manager for that.
okay.
I
Where
don't know.
exactly at?
I don't know exactly, but I
Okay.
think there's Indianapolis, Southwest, or like southeast and west of, or south of Indianapolis.
Okay,
But I can also send you Zeta's name or her contact information. And if
Okay.
she has, I don't know what the parameters are for their program, for their family
right.
program, but I
right.
do know that they're out in the community.
We have a family preservation program, and there are some similarities with what you talked about, but then there are some very different ones. Yeah, it would be nice. I've not heard of them locally, so I'm guessing they're not in my region. But yeah, that would be great if you could connect us and maybe we could talk. She might be in some of the meetings that I'm in with the state anyway, so it could be good to just connect anyway.
Okay.
Well,
Perfect.
thank you guys so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I think most people have fallen off here. Somebody just asked to get back in, so I don't know if he has a question.
Maybe.
I just let Rick Ham back in. I don't know if it's the Rick Ham that I know from years ago or not. But I did know a Rick Ham back many years ago when I was working at North Key. So he's on mute. So I don't know if he heard me, but it looks like everybody's gone off now. So thank you again, and best of
Absolutely.
luck with this work. Oh yeah, so it is you, Merrick. Okay, awesome. Well, it's nice to see your name again after all these years. That was probably the 90s, when I may have known you, or early 2000s. Yeah. All right. Well, great. Rick, did you have any questions for Jennifer before we end the session? right. I suppose not. All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Melissa. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.